Hey,
Yay!
hey
I'm live. Hi, Danielle. Happy Sunday.
Nile, how are you?
I'm doing really well. I'm excited
Good.
to be here. It's been a nice restful week overall. I know, like, because it was just Thanksgiving, and sometimes that's a little bit crazy. I just got to show up at my parents' and my brother's house and just enjoy it. I had
Oh,
zero input in planning, zero
nice.
input in implementation, and I just got to enjoy playing with my niece and having cocktails.
That is excellent. I like that.
It's the
That's
dream.
perfect. That's like the dream Thanksgiving right there.
Indeed. How about you?
Um, Kind of, similarly restful. I did cook, but I didn't do like a major big cooking. I just did a light Thanksgiving and there was no leftovers. It was just well, we had little potatoes left, but yeah. Nobody in my family is excited about it. So I made something that we could say was Thanksgiving dinner. It had the potatoes, it had the cranberry, it had a chicken
Mm.
in place of turkey, and we had some pie that only I ate. The rest of them had cake.
Wait, so you had cake and pie. That's a lot of options.
I wanted pumpkin pie because for me, I feel like pumpkin pie needs to be there. And actually, I think I went with Marion Berry this year, but there was a pie, and I bought enough for all of us, and I ended up eating the entire half slice that you buy half a pie.
Mm-hmm.
In
Mm.
the last days that have been since Thanksgiving, I have eaten the entire thing.
Honey, worth it. Worth it.
It was good
I am
taste.
not
No,
a pumpkin flavored kind of guy personally, but I do enjoy a pie. In fact, my mom was gifted a pecan pie by a former realtor. They still keep
oh,
in touch as well.
yeah.
And
That's
so,
so good.
and then my mom gives her cooking, Indian cooking occasionally, biryani. And then, so she gives usually a pie every year to my family, my parents. And so a pecan pie. And so that's what my mom brought over. And then my sister in law and my niece made cupcakes because that's what she wanted to do. So we had a mixture of cupcakes and pie.
That is so cool.
It was fun. It was very sugary, but we all needed it.
I'm for it. I think that's great.
I think so too. Well, I'm glad that it was hopefully somewhat of a restful slash like energizing weekend. For me,
Yeah.
I got to spend a lot of it with my family, but I also was working on the background, and it wasn't like necessarily just for Silver Silk, but just personal creativity. And I got several projects done that I needed to and wanted to kind of, develop and figure out what it was going to become. And it finally came to fruition.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
yeah, it's just like when that light bulb hits, when the lightning strikes, you must, act, I guess. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, that was, and so one thing that I wanted to teach this particular class, which we talked about, was freeform beading and what that kind of even is or what it looked like. And I
Woohoo.
thought just because of the space theme that we have for Out of This World, it was just like the most appropriate tie-in since, space
Yeah.
tends to be freeform and kind of a mixture of different colors and scale and things. So I sort of set out a explanation tutorial, not necessarily a formal here's how to create one for one. Today,
Yeah.
I just kind of wanted to cover the technique, some things that I like to try, and how to sort of achieve it um,
That's
once
perfect.
we get it together. So that's what I was going to work on, and I didn't know if you had something specific planned, or if you wanted to follow along, or if you wanted to like do
Yeah,
something.
both, both. I think that it's a perfect one because you're down to the leftover beads from your box potentially,
Uh,
and so you can combine the little bit of leftovers you have from all the different sizes. So I really like that, for that reason, and then all I had for me planned today was to finish up that loom piece. So just gonna
Oh, right.
yeah,
You were
that's all
kind of
I
already at the tail end of it, so I didn't know if you wanted to kind
yeah,
of dive in and
like, almost done pretty much.
yeah. Well, I know we wanted to see what the slider and how that worked and everything.
Yeah. So I can probably work on that in the background while you're instructing or however you want to structure. We can always throw it on at the end too.
Let's what do you guys think? I've got my silky crew out here.
Yeah.
We've got two amazing projects for you today. which would you like to start with first? And I don't know where these balloons came from, but they did.
Oh, I like those balloons.
Yeah, but I don't know where they like. Does it just happen magically?
I don't know. It doesn't work for me. So every once in a while, at the top of my Chrome browser, I get this thing that tells me that I need to activate something in order to use more features. And I think that has something to do with my settings. I don't know. I would have to dig and figure out, and I never do it.
I don't either. And I know, so I like to talk with my hands, which is usually bad for virtual
Yes,
type of settings, since everything likes to start
exactly.
hacking.
It's so true. So true.
Well, we're not getting any immediate answers, so why don't we start with your project first, Danielle? And we can just pen down to our board and learn, kind of maybe just talk us through the one side.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea. I'll just kind of show you guys what I did. It makes sense when you see it. It's not anything that is hard to do. But how I created this end was I took the each of these is so this one that runs the side here is a warp, and you know how you have a warp thread running in between. I went ahead and wove in some of them because they take a really long time, and I just wanted to show you basically how to do each one. So you have a weft thread, which is the one that you were doing the looming with. That's the one coming out of the beads here, and then you have your warps, and there's only a slight difference in the way they're woven in, and it's a very small difference. So I'll start with one of these. And so you want to pick up a warp thread, always has to go over a bead. Definitely want to jump over a bead. And then I'm going to pick up a weft. So the wefts are the ones that are running through the beads this way. And there's one on the top and one on the bottom of each of the warp strands. And so if you get underneath, I'll hold it up closer once I get it. Can you kind of see how I've picked those up?
Oh, yeah. So you went through 2 or 3 of them?
3 of them there, yeah.
3 of them. Okay, gotcha.
That is my favorite way to weave in warps because it doesn't mean that you have to have so many passes going through just that one row, top 2, 3 rows. And then often what I'll do is I'll go through a few beads in a couple, 3 rows down in this case, and then just repeat that. And it gets easier as you get further from the edge to find those little wefts. You see them there? They're hanging out inside.
And so the needle is sandwiched between them.
Yeah. So when you did your looming, you remember you bring your beads under the warps and then you pass over the warps on the way out. So basically what you have is a sandwich of thread running this way, top and below, and the warps running this way. So you can use those as a way to secure your thread. And every time you do one of these little turns here and you go under a few more, you're getting a very secure weave in that has the advantage of getting you out of that, highly condensed real estate up here, where a lot of people get really stuck on that when they first start looming. They try to weave in by going through rows. And after like the 6th warp strand, you're going to have a full bead that you cannot pass through anymore.
Right. Yeah. It's so compact with thread already that it's just risking your needle and breaking the bead essentially.
Exactly. And so that's how people do it. That's what they do. They just take that and they go underneath the warps, underneath the weft. And that was a warp that I just did. Now your weft thread, to get your weft thread back and woven in, it's a slight difference in how you enter the beadwork. And then after that, it's the same thing. So you just see how this is the weft thread. It's exiting from a bead versus having run in between them. Again, going to be running in between. Wefts are going to be coming out of a bead. So what I do is I jump over that warp. See the warp here on the side?
Yeah.
I leap over it and then go into that bead and pass through as much of the row as you want. Maybe just a few beads here. And you'll see as you do that this little loop here is going to hug that edge warp thread and secure itself. And then all you got to do is just weave in.
I love that. That looks and feels so easy. Well, maybe it's also because you're doing it because you make it look effortless.
Oh, it's totally easy. I think the only thing is keep in mind that originally how many warps I had up here. There were quite a few, right? I had a
Mhm.
lot. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I had 10 to weave in on each side. So it gets a little time consuming, but it's really a lot easier than it probably feels, right? When you first stare at all those little strands. It's a like kind of a patience exercise. I often do them in like bursts. I don't do them all at once. I'll do 4 of them and then I'll go take a break. Do 4 more, go take a break. And you can get yourself as far away from the edge as you need to get out of the area where there's a lot of, heavy duty stuff happening. You can just keep going down. This is a great way to add thread too if you need to, like say you want to square stitch on the ends, which is what I'm going to do with this last strand, just so I can have something to hide in the tube.
Mhm.
Optionally, that's pretty much it. That's the whole thing for how to get rid of warps and weft.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize it was that simple. Because like
Simple
I
as
see all those
yeah.
threads, right? And I just like kind of get intimidated and then I'm like, I don't know what to do.
No, it's so easy. There is another way where you can pull them, and I have demoed that a lot on Jewel Loom. That way requires that as you are looming, that you work with the eye side of your needle. And
Oh,
I didn't mention that during our last tutorial, so I didn't want to teach that one, but we can do that one in a future live if you want.
yeah. Well, and I don't know what your recommendation is one way versus the other.
I personally prefer to do the pulling in, but every once in a while, even when I'm really careful, I get to a spot where when I go to pull on that warp, it's not going to move because somewhere here, somewhere I snagged it. All you have to do is just one time accidentally nick part of the warps as you're creating each row, and you've created a place where it's not going to pull through anymore.
Ah,
So that's a really like stressful technique to do, especially with, I would say also with this kind of beading thread, you're more likely to have that happen than if you're doing wildfire or fireline. So if you're like working with fireline, you're going to have like pretty much a shoe in that you didn't puncture it. Same with wildfire, because it's very hard to puncture those threads with a needle.
yeah. This one is the Miyuki thread is great because it is very soft, but it is very fibrous.
It is, and even a slight little nick will cause when you try to pull that warp, you'll get
Mm,
like a bunch of bunching and crunching. And
yeah.
so because of how stressful that is on this design, I just went ahead and wove them in. I didn't have that many, 10 on each side. Didn't take me very long. There it was.
Nice. I
Yeah,
love it.
thanks.
All right.
Yeah.
So how do we stick the slider on?
So for the slider, let's do this side, and then I'll just repeat everything on that side while during the part of the demo where I'm not following along for yours.
Cool.
I want to follow along for yours, so I think I might kind of like set it aside when you get started. But so to put the slider on, well, first I need to decide my design, right? So I've got this gorgeous chain. This is the one from your bundle. And I think what you do is you squish it a little bit, right?
I actually use my fingernail to pinch between the first and second ball chain. Yeah, there you go. And what
Okay.
that does is it just flattens the knitted wire and allows it to slide into the end crimp quite easily.
Oh, that's pretty. Look at
And
that.
see, it's still plump, like where the thing kind of exits the crimp, and so you don't
That's
have
so
any
good.
like switched ends. Sometimes your fingernails are the best tool.
I'm glad I didn't bite them earlier.
Yeah. That is, yeah, that's a bonus.
So there it is. And so now I will just close this edge.
Oh, dang, I didn't realize it was that easy.
That's pretty much it. And if you want, you could add a border. So I would even do this after my sliders are on, but I would come along and maybe put some decorative border on this side.
Ooh,
Yeah,
I love that idea, like a little
right?
fringy something
To
something.
close it, do you help it get started and then push it onto the bead mat?
Yes, that's exactly right. And then I would even go back, I do this sometimes after the show,
Mhm.
uh, like going in with just a straight hammer and kind of tapping
Oh,
down the end. And it's really just to work hard in it a little bit without, overkilling it.
that's interesting. Okay, so I actually happen to have
Do you have a hammer on? You do. She has prepared you guys. There you go, a little mallet. some little mallet action. And it kind of just helps fold that little like tab that's connected to the round part and the actual crimp itself. Like it helps it flatten out a little more.
Pretty.
See, that is a professional finish if I ever saw one, you guys.
Oh, I love this. Okay, so I'm just going to repeat that all on this side, and I will have a gorgeous design.
Bracelet.
Put some findings on it and put some charms. I'm going to go charm crazy.
I will
So
say, if you also happen to have a beading awl on hand, you might have to increase the inner diameter of that little loop that's on top of the slider crimp. It was built small, fortunately, for my jump rings, but a little beading awl or your round nose, like what you've got there, is perfect. Just like, yeah, just making it a little bit bigger and wider, kind of pushing the metal out, will help it go in a little bit better.
That's
The
awesome.
jump rings, yeah.
Woohoo! Yeah, because I was definitely wanting to put some of your jump rings and findings on.
Sweet.
So that is
Well,
ideal.
that is dynamite, Danielle. I love that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hey, Colleen is here.
Colleen, hi.
Colleen. I feel like she
Hi.
should be on the back end of these shows now that Joan is sometimes here and sometimes not. How about it, Colleen?
Yeah.
I'm still trying to hire her. I think she wanted to be hired, though.
Yes, definitely.
We'll talk after the show if you're interested. All right, let's talk about a deep dive into the world of freeform. Basically, let me kind of go over the materials that I've chosen for explaining this sort of technique and idea to you guys, and then you guys can take it from there. Of course, I've got my SilverSilk bead board, and within it, I have got Danielle's seed beads that I need to replenish. I have it in my tubes, but I forgot to spill some out on my bead board. But I have it in a few different sizes. I'll primarily be using the size 11 and the size 8 just for this particular instance. And the others you can definitely use as you sort of progress in your and get more confident within what I'm about to show you. The other thing that you'll need is some sort of a form to work on. And by form, I mean something of, well, I just happen to have some silver silk, go figure. The reason why I think silver silk works well for freeform in a lighter definition of it is because of the knitting. The knits allow for needle to pass through very easily, and I can connect or add on as many beads or as few beads as I want and still have it looked very professional, very polished. As you could see, the finding I went ahead and attached ahead of time on there. And I just did like a standard loop that I like to make for earrings quite often. So this gives me a form to work on as I'm sort of stitching my project together. So have that on the side. And then I was looking through my threads, and you could absolutely use what Danielle has in her bead box, which is the Miyuki thread. It's soft, it's thin, and I think it works really well to be able to do this freeform technique. And the reason why you want a thinner thread like the one Danielle is holding, or here I've got Wildfire Ultra, is because you're going to be passing through the bead multiple times. And so you want to be able to make sure that that thread can fit through at least 3-4 times just in case. Will you do that to every bead? Absolutely not. But is it an option? Definitely. I mean, this is freeform. We're just making it up as we go along, right? So here I've picked out, and I think they had sent this to me as a, what do they call it? A free sample. And so I'm just going to use some of that. But I believe, 4-pound test, Danielle, might be like a pretty good option for some thinner thread.
Yeah, any of the 4-pound versions or any size B or size D nylon.
There you go. Yep. And I'm just gonna grab like a maybe 3 feet to start with, and I'm looking for my cutters very diligently here. There we go. All right, and I'm just gonna use my scissors to cut some thread. And of course, you'll want a needle. And I'm going to swap spots with Danielle so I get a little bit more screen real estate there. Sorry, Danielle.
Yeah, you can make yours the bigger one if you want to. I'm just repeating.
Okay. That might be easier for folks to, and then we can bring us back into both screens.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So here I've got my thread and I've got my needle all threaded up as well. I'm actually using a size, I believe this is a size 10 needle. Size 11 is preferred because it's between like a thick and a thin one. I just don't happen to have any on my table. But yeah, and it goes like the larger the number, the thicker the needle. Is that correct? In my brain, I think
Yes, that's right.
kind of works like wire diameter. All right. So the first thing I want to do is sort of anchor my thread onto something. And so I'm just going to start up here. Again, there's no rhyme or reason to most of this. It's just finding a starting point. So I'm going to start at the very top of my earring, and I'm going to go through a knit as I did there. And I'm going to go through a few times to start anchoring my thread. And I want to leave about I don't know, maybe like a 3-inch, 4-inch tail to start with. That way I can easily knot if I want to, which I don't think I'll need to because I'm securing it pretty heavy by stitching it back and forth a few times within the knits. But the tricky part is trying to get it all to stay organized while you're doing it. Okay. I'm going through maybe about 4 times so far. The thread is pretty thin, and so it's going to be a little bit more slidey than a thicker thread. But once you start to pull on it and it's not going anywhere, you'll know that it's super secure. So that's a good way to start your piece. All right. So show of hands in our little classroom here of over 60 people. How many of you are actually well-versed in the peyote stitch? Because that's really the foundation for this technique that I'm showing you. It's one way to do freeform. It's not the only way. But I like to use a peyote stitch because it gives me an instant textile that I can start to craft and form with. So I'll be using that for most of my technique here is the peyote stitch. But also I wanted to explain the color theory. Now, I'm just going to start with the teal. So in the seed bead bundle that you get from Danielle, you'll have multiple seed beads to work with, but you will have a mixture of them. And so what I recommend doing is dumping them out into your SilverSilk tray or a bead board that you've got and working with a singular color within the mix at a time. Think of it this way. Whenever you have a painting, let's say that you're trying to paint on a canvas, and you mix all the colors together and you try and throw it onto the canvas, it's going to look muddy. For this particular instance and technique, having the color separated gives you more depth and contrast to your design. So I say color block it as much as possible. Now, that's not always the case for every beading project. For freeform, you want to be able to see the depth that you're creating and not have the waters super muddy, right? So I recommend just sticking with a color as you work through your patches of peyote stitch. So here, I'm just going to string on 6. Just to start, you could string 4 if you want to. You could string 17. Ultimately, it is just because I'm working on a smaller scale. I don't want to get too carried away. So I'm going to start by doing the peyote stitch, which is you skip a bead and you go through a bead with your needle. And then you pick up a bead. Half the work here is holding it as well. There we go. I have my earring hook connected, but you could absolutely take that off if you want to. Put it on at the end. Then you're going to skip a bead and then go through a bead. Okay.
Well, that's cool.
Skip a bead, go through a bead. So now you just kind of work back through. If your beadwork kind of gets a little bit loose, that's totally okay. Just keep going. And once you start building a body of work, it will start to tighten itself. Now, here's the thing. Do you see how I didn't complete the entire peyote row? What you can do here is start to add on a different color. So I'm going to branch off now, and I could do one of two things. I can either start a new color and start to peyote stitch again, or I kind of go back to my base and I connect it first. And it's going to look a little wacky, but that's okay. Just go with it. And I'm going to stitch back through so that now my beadwork base is connected to my peyote stitch. And I can go back through that bead. And lucky for me, I'm using black thread with a black colored silver silk. So it's not going to show at all. And now that I've got it anchored, I can actually start to add on more stuff. So I am going to go with the purple. And we're going to do 1, 2, 3. We're going to do 4. Let's do 4. Drop it down. Okay, and then you're going to peyote stitch that. So you'll skip one, go through a bead. Whoop, I didn't pick one up. There we go. Okay, and you're going to pick one up and go through that next bead. The nice thing about using separate colors is that you get to actually see what you're stitching through. And so it helps with creating that volume. And all you're really doing now is creating textile. So you can make your peyote patch as long and, wide as you want to and stitch it into anything that feels like it needs something. So here, you could see that I've got my patchwork of 4, and I guess kind of what I'm feeling like is I want a little bit more. So I've reached the end, but I want to continue on. So why don't we just drop in another color? We'll do this misty pink color, and I'm going to do 6 just for kicks. It's freeform, so again, there's no rules. And I bet more than anything that your design is going to look way different from mine. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, drop it down. Make sure your needle is still threaded and nothing slipping off. And now just continue on with your peyote stitch. Skip one, go through one. Okay, pick up another mist pink. Skip one, go through one. You skip one, go through one. And if you want to, you can actually even start to continue onto your piece that's already there. So in this case, the purple. So in other words, you can pick one up, go through that purple top one, and just start to connect these things together. What you're building is volume. Okay. Maybe I want to go back with more mist pink. Maybe halfway, a little over halfway, and then I want to connect it back to my base. Okay, so let's pick a spot on the knitted wire and just go through it. And you see how like it starts to do funky stuff? That's what we're looking for. That's what makes it interesting.
That's cool.
Thank you. And now I'm just going to poke my needle back out through the silver silk. I think this is perfect for the space theme because Danielle and I were just discussing that space is incredibly freeform. There is no rhyme or reason, there just is. And I think that that's what this sort of represents for me, is that I'm just dabbing on patches of things to represent galaxies, different types of Milky Way. I don't know, planets.
Exactly.
Speaking of, this is also the point where you can decide if you want to add in bigger beads. You absolutely can. Sorry, Danielle, I cut you off with my excitement.
No, I was just agreeing. I love it.
Thank you. I do too. Okay, so I'm going to grab one of my baby check glass beads, if I can see where the hole is. There it is. Okay, and you can kind of just pick it up and then maybe even bring it back into some of the beadwork, like right here. And you see it just kind of tucks it in there. So
Oh
nice.
yeah. Look
Like
at that.
nested. It's nested in there. All right, so now you just kind of continue on the same journey. I'm going to pick up, oh, how about some teal? Or we could even go to the mixed gray, this sort of gray color. We could do some gray. And we'll do, I don't know. How many should I do? 6 or 8?
6.
6? Okay. We'll do
I just
6.
randomly decided that.
Yeah, no, that's what I was looking for. You can absolutely graduate in size. And so if you are wanting to add even more texture, you guys remember I mentioned the size 8 seed beads. That's also in a mix in Danielle's box. That would be an opportunity to start mixing that in with this. Danielle, have you ever tried Freeform before?
I am trying it right now. I just made myself a little form, and now I am getting my thread out. And I think I've seen enough of the demo to start, but I won't copy you because I'm not going to copy every bead you pick up.
I don't think it's even possible to copy what I'm doing unless you like really pause the video and are doing exact like one for one.
Exactly.
But even then,
Yeah.
I'd be like, well, good luck.
Well, I'm trying to resist the urge to try and do that. So I started late. So that way I have to kind of improvise, right?
It's just, yeah, this Freeform isn't really a one-for-one copy anyway, but I think you're going to get, like, because you're so well versed in the POD stitch, it is going to be breezy, easy breezy for you to learn and acquire this type of technique.
I hope so. So
That's
when you anchored to your Pearlesque chain, did you not?
I didn't, but you can. I just stitched like back and forth so many times that it sort of knotted in on itself.
Gotcha. Perfect. Okay.
It was sort of intentional to do it that way, but you could absolutely knot it if that's, your preference to do that.
Oh no, if I can get away without knotting, that's my usual go-to. Okay. Woohoo. Okay.
You're going to notice that whenever you start to put in beads and stuff, that it's going to get tucked away into the most interesting spaces within the beadwork. And so it starts to really look organic and fun and takes a life of its own.
Oh, I love that. This is going to be cool.
I think so too. Let me know in the comments if you guys are going to give this a try or if you're just enjoying listening to my voice as best of a Bob Ross as I could do. And believe me, I am no Bob Ross, but wouldn't it be nice to have one for the beading world where just go in and make happy
Pretty little beads.
Yes.
I can't help it. I'm doing something quasi-symmetrical.
Well, that's okay. Freeform can actually still imitate that, um, based on, like, scale and the body of something. You don't want something to tip over visually, right? So, like, keeping a little bit of balance and symmetry in your design is going to be key.
Yeah, this is gonna work. Okay. I see it. We're all quiet. Like, oh, so
I
focused
know,
right
ultimate concentration.
now.
Ultimate concentration. And let's see. It's like, so I'm using and I had a Silky ask me um, via email, which I haven't responded yet because I keep forgetting to. So I apologize. I will do it after the show. I promise. They were asking what these beads were, and they are 4 mm sediment jasper in a galaxy colorway. I had some in the pop-up shop for sale, but they sold out, unfortunately. So
But they're in the bundle.
they
They're in
are
the
in the bundle. They are, and I've got plenty of bundles left for you guys. But so far, that is the only spot. Ooh. What's fun is they look like little planets. So you get these cool little like gaps between the peyote stitch, and so you can kind of just nest your beads in between that spot. So it starts to take on, a meaningful space.
Yeah, Pearlesque chain is ideal for this because you can just stitch right through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the form makes it easy to know what the canvas is, because sometimes whenever you just say free form, it's just like, well, I don't know what that means. It could be anything, and that's intimidating. But having that symmetrical element, and in this case, the earring form, right? The loop, the hoop that we're sewing onto,
Exactly. It's
takes
so much easier.
away, yeah, takes away the guesswork of like, what am I doing this for?
Well, yeah, and I think it's one of the things that maybe stopped me from trying it because it used to be that you would try by creating basically a row of peyote, right?
Hmm.
Just by itself and then trying to build on that. And mine would just curl and make these kind of like, pasta looking things happen and it just wasn't looking right.
Pasta looking things.
With no symmetry. And I was like, there's no symmetry.
None. There's none. No, well, the form definitely helps with that, and then you're just sort of building on top of it, so that at least takes some of the guesswork away. In fact, I think we can do split screen now because I'm pretty much done with the explanation part of it. It's just now the implementation. One, two. Thanks, you guys. Getting some lovely comments. And don't forget that there is no front and back to what you're doing. It's going to look different from all sides, and so you want to pay attention to how your thread is stitched in because you're going to be seeing everything from a three-dimensional standpoint.
That is true.
Mm.
Thanks, Lori. I don't know what's happening yet. You just got something going on. If it ends up being symmetrical, I'm not going to know what to say.
It is just what What was decided.
Somebody might need help. Just a little.
I would also go on to say that I enjoy abstract painting. I'm not good at it, but it is nice to just let the colors do what they want to, as opposed to me trying to figure out, and I've done the whole like, let's paint this still life and it's, one for one, but to me that kind of sucks out the fun of it. That's not everybody's um, journey, but it certainly just is how I enjoy doing art, I guess. There's no
Yeah.
rhyme or reason. But there is like, those art elements definitely tie itself in the balance, color, texture, all that good stuff.
Eventually, I'm going to need to switch beads here, but just sticking with the 11-0 for now. I've seen some really nice like posts of freeform
Mhm.
designs
Mhm.
that look really good.
Yeah, folks can get really talented with this sort of a technique and do some really cool stuff.
Yours is better than mine.
Well, it's never a competition. It's um
I just
we're
being
just
honest.
having fun and we're just playing and discovering, like, you know. This is not a competition.
You all just got an image of third grade me right there.
I will say there's a weak point on the beadwork here that I want to fix. So I'm going to go back through the knits of the knitted wire. And I think I'm going to connect a few more beads onto where that larger bead is, just to kind of reinforce that bead. But also there's an awkward gap where my thread is showing a lot. I know you guys can't see it on camera necessarily, but it is one of those things that will bother me. So we're
Yeah,
going to.
that too. I always have to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've always kind of summed up freeform peyote as like trying to force myself to do something weird. How can I make it weirder?
I don't know. A neon cactus is pretty weird.
That is true. That is true.
You know, you've done some weird stuff. Let's not discount that.
We must up the weird quotient, though.
Yeah. You can only outdo yourself in the grand scheme of things. There's nobody else. There's no other competition except for yourself.
That is true.
Okay. You guys can see that a galaxy is forming multi-layers. We've got, multi-dimension, perhaps in a different timeline involved in this. All things space. So I'm just going to continue to build this outward. And it's okay to have gaps of knitted wire showing. In fact, that is the point of all of this, is you don't want to hide the knitted wire. It is your form, but you want everything to be growing on top of it, sort of like vine, and show pockets of that knitted wire and its gorgeousness. So don't cover everything up with heavy beadwork. Just let it breathe.
Yeah, exactly. You want it to be part of the design, but not
all of it.
covered up. Yeah. Makes sense.
This is so cool. I never actually got to teach this ever, except for with you now, which to me, it's like I remembered my bead childhood. My point of doing all of this is all of
Bringing
this.
back the beady goodness.
It does, yeah. This is like such warm vibes.
Let's see
Oh,
if I
also,
can
my heat is on blast. I'm gonna turn it down real quick.
oh no. We're actually having sun today. It's really pretty here today. I was surprised. I got up this morning, bright
That's
sun, not too
That's
cold.
also unusual for Seattle.
Really, yeah, because we've had nothing but rain.
Mhm.
Thanksgiving was just giant rain fest.
Wow.
But yeah, I finally got to get out, get some movement today this morning.
Yeah, that's great. That is like the ideal setup. I would say we did have about 3 hours, 4 hours of sunshine. It was still cold outside. Like we're talking 30s, maybe in the 30s. Um, but I didn't get out today. Today I just wanted to stay in and be cozy. But I did open up the windows for the plants. Or not open up the window, pull the shade up or whatever
Mhm.
for some sunlight to get in the house.
That's good though. It's good for in wintertime you can kind of get low vitamin D levels.
Oh, for sure. And then that's like it just is on set for the blues.
Yeah, and then I get sad if I notice it. I can kind of feel it.
Hmm. It's definitely a thing. All right, so eventually you're going to get to a point to where you just are out of beading thread. So kind of just keep working up to the point to where you're comfortable like swapping out a thread. And so I think I'm going to do that now. And there's a couple ways you could do that. You can either add on another thread and sort of just knot it, which is perfectly fine. I think
Oh,
what I'm going
thanks.
to do um, is, if I can get that needle back in, I think what I'm going to do is just stitch it into the silver silk and then trim it off and then just start my thread back up there for another one. You know, keeps it not as complicated. You could even leave a little loop. That way, whenever you stitch back, you just go through the loop.
Oh, okay. I think I'm going to do 3 little sections along the bracelet.
I love it. Okay. And once you've kind of gotten that together, you can just snip that off. There we go. And start your new thread. So I'm going to grab some more fire line. I'm also going to go ahead and detach my earring hook because I didn't realize how annoying that was going to be. We'll just set that off to the side. All right, so now I can continue on. I'm going to stitch in my new thread the same way I stitched out my thread. Just go back into the Pearlesque chain, stitch in, leave a couple inches of thread, well, maybe 3 inches to be on the safe side, and then just go back and forth until a knot starts to form inside of the chain. It is so easy to hide the thread inside of silver silk because
Oh,
it's covered up by the wire.
yeah, especially if you're matching that thread color, it just disappears.
Hmm. Okay, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of a bead to restart my freeform, and I can cut off my tail. And there you have it. You've got more thread to work with. Pretty easy. Okay. So let's continue on with the teal, maybe? Or in
Yeah.
fact, I think I want to do a little small round bead and then do my teal. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll do a small one, so we'll do set of 4. I will say if you can also focus on doing even count peyote, that is going to make life a lot easier
Oh, yeah, exactly.
because you can stitch back and forth pretty easily. It's not always, you don't have to stick to that, but it does make it a little easier in terms of not having to worry about like symmetry within the stitch work itself. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. I would just say stick with even count. Make your lives easier.
That's generally my go-to for life.
Yeah, I'm starting to notice that as I do more projects. So I'm like, oh gosh, wouldn't it look great if this were? Oh, this is why. Just
Oh,
another
thanks.
step.
So far, that's
Oh,
what.
so fun! I love that. It
Then,
almost looks like quilt patchwork.
yeah, and I didn't cover up the whole chain, so like the backside, you could still see it.
Love.
And that'll probably be how it's worn.
Oh yeah, like a cuff almost.
Yeah, but every section is going to be different. So that was section 1. Then we'll do a little middle, something more brave, and then I'll try to kind of copy at least in length what I did there on that side.
So fun.
So this one I can trim. And then I need another needle. I'll find one here. Does they call it a needle? There you go. Have you been watching this show about this guy? He's like he fights in like the Revolutionary War, but he's one of the British soldiers, and he goes home and his house is like all like dilapidated.
Mm.
And so I've been watching so much of the show, I started copying the accents from
Oh
it.
my gosh, yeah, it's starting to rub on ya.
Yeah,
Is
it's
it a
like
scary show? Like, what's
it's a
it?
period piece about
Oh,
like just after the United States Revolutionary War, but it's like from the British side, and a
mm,
British soldier who gets injured over there, but he comes home and his fiance has married someone else, and
yeah, his life is basically turned upside down.
yeah, I made my husband watch it. He's like, I want to watch something else, and I'm like, no, we're gonna watch this. He's like, no.
Did he like it at the end, or was he like, "Well, I did that"?
It's still in the phase where he's like grimacing when I ask him to turn it on.
Oh.
But I just went through one of his shows, and it was okay, but I'm gonna play up like it wasn't so I can get some airtime for mine.
Oh, that's valid, yes. He probably heard you just now.
I hope not. Man, the game's up, man. You're gonna get caught.
Yeah.
Oh, Sarah says she can't hide thread when weaving in. For what I do usually is I'll go through at least and make 2 turns and then trim it. Sometimes that helps a little bit if you do lots of turns.
Mhm.
And somehow I've just ended up doing quasi beaded rope again. I don't know. I'm incorrigible.
It is a little bit.
But it's much lazier.
It's a lazy beaded rope.
I didn't have to think about it. I just kind of went with it. And I'm really down to the last bits of all my little tubes. So
Oh, really?
experiment. Yeah. I'm down to like, I don't know. Like I could go raid the Etsy shop, or why do I still call it the Etsy shop? I could go raid the shop, but if I stick with one box, I'm down to that.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely stretch it out as much as possible.
Whenever I take beads out of my own store, my husband says I'm getting high on my own supply.
Yeah, that's a valid statement. It's like you're not really like, know, you're breathing in your own air.
Like, dude, seriously. Why do you think I have a store? Okay.
The store is just an excuse. It is really just for me to have things that look organized and I can shop from.
Exactly.
That would be the ideal setup, I would say, for a craft room. Like, not if I had planned something more thoroughly, like, past me had, it would look like a storefront, but I just did not get around to decorating it that way, unfortunately.
Wouldn't that be fun though to have a store? Like,
Would
an
be
actual brick and mortar on the front of your house?
Yeah, but then I wouldn't want to sell stuff to people. I would just wanna, shop from it myself, which is
Yeah.
really counterpoint of, what the purpose is.
Right? I know it's true. I would probably do that thing that, where you first get the shipment in, 5 for me, 1 for you.
Yeah. I think Jill does that, actually.
We all do. I think we all do.
We all
That's like
do.
why we did the store thing in the first place. When I used to, I mean, I wasn't an official employee, but I used to work for Beads of Bainbridge. They
Mm.
I worked for Beads. I basically would go there when I got off from my day job and hang out till they closed, give
Oh, I
the
see.
manager a break so she could go get a coffee and, take
Yeah.
a little break, and I would just kinda hang out there, and I could work the register and stuff, but for the most part, I just answered questions and talked to people for a little bit, and they
Oh,
would call me on delivery days and was like, "Hey, come on over, first dibs." So, I
wow.
would come over and help them unbox it, help them stock it, and
Yeah.
then be the first in line if I wanted to buy something. I'd be like, "Yep."
I had a very short stint that was kind of the same thing. This lady that one of my teachers from high school found did, at-home jewelry or something, and she had boxes of crystals and things
Ooh.
that she needed help stringing the beads, and so, she was like, for manual labor, the trade-off would be some beads, and so I was like, "Okay." Well, I did it a few times, but, I was like, "Well, I don't know if this is for me," and so I stopped doing that, and I did get some beads out of it, but it wasn't something that was fully sustainable at that time. But it was fun
I
while it
used
lasted.
to be really naughty. Like, I would go with them. There's a place nearby me called Shipwreck Beads.
Oh gosh. That's
They
like
it's not, like, super close, it's all the way in, well, for me, we're talking a couple hours in the car, but it's a doable day drive and back.
mhm.
So, you go down there and it's kinda it's like what I call quasi wholesale. So,
Yeah.
you can shop there retail, but if you have a wholesale business license, you get a little extra deals and, you're not gonna have to pay the Washington State sales tax, which is horrendous.
Oh, right.
And so I would go with them, and shop and
Mhm. Mhm.
kind of like steer the decisions for like what to add. Because
Oh, right.
I
Beautiful.
became like best friends with the manager there, and so
Mm.
we hung out all the time, and we'd get in my Golf. I had a VW Golf, and I'd have rolling back, like literally low riding on the way back
That's fun.
because it's got so much beads in it.
Oh my gosh. You have lived quite a life, my
I
friend.
have huge life. I miss it. I miss those days because now everything's a lot harder. And if I want to do something, I have to plan.
Oh, yeah. Same for me. My life is quite divided, but it's not a bad thing. But I just have to be very thoughtful of how I spend my time anymore.
Yeah, everything has to be so intentional now. It's like I gotta
Yeah.
schedule everything and
I'm also at that age where I feel fine with scheduling things though. Like I'd rather not have surprises.
yeah, that's true. Kaylee says that she loves our what we have working on here.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, this is fun. I'm having a good time with this. Look at this giant textile that I just made. It
Oh
is
wow, it looks like a fishy.
it's
See a fin.
a little bit. It's crazy. So, yeah. I'm just gonna stitch that in.
Oh, I love it.
And you see how I gave myself a little shorter stitch area? Like when I pulled my thread through, I only went back a little bit, but it makes that beadwork pop out, and that's what gives it dimension.
Oh, right. Yeah, exactly. Mixing up those bead sizes is the ticket.
Mhm. Oh, this is gonna look so fun when it's done. I'm so excited about this.
Oh, yeah, this one is really cool. It's weird. I'm starting to like it more. At first, I was like, "What?
No, I
No."
think it's gonna be awesome. It looked really good whenever it was laying flat.
It's just kind of like it's not confidence building, especially in the beginning. So you start to get kind of afraid that you're creating a Frankenstein, and
Well, I mean, and kind of it is. It's just, but but there's an art to it. It's not just throwing a bunch of stuff on there. It is, again, just being intentional about visual balance because the recipe's been made for you. We have all these gorgeous beads that match, and then we've got a form, which is the silver silk. So your job is really just to balance out the rest of the art elements and dive in with that mindset to accomplish freeform.
that's a good way to describe it. Yeah.
Sometimes it's nice to, because if you're going through your own beads, that is definitely intimidating, trying to figure out colors and, which way you're going to do what. And your own inventory can be overwhelming. So I think having these sorts of bundles and boxes helps half the work cut down with decision making, which is I'm very indecisive and I do not like making decisions, but that's a whole nother story. Having the formula set to do this is quite nice.
Yeah, I agree. Just having an easy day, figuring out what I'm gonna do. It's looking really good.
It is. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Here we go. So this is gonna be. Oh, okay. I see what I gotta do. I gotta reverse that. Do do. Yeah. So I used some bigger beads here. I got a little brave, and so I got myself into a little bit of a like ruffle situation.
Do you have ruffles?
I got ruffles,
Nice.
just like the potato chip.
Ooh.
Ruffles have ridges.
Mhm.
I'm basically a walking commercial memory repository.
Sometimes an infomercial.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I have so many like back in the 90s those really like catchy ads
Mhm.
were on the television and they're all in my head. They're in there living rent free and I can't get them out. They're just going to be there for my whole life. And I can sometimes impress my kids cuz I'll like say something like that and they'll repeat it like 6 7. Like I got plenty of 6 sevens in here. Let me just dig one up. And they're like, "Mom, how'd you think of that?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know."
No, it just
These are
happens.
kids who've never heard of Toucan Sam, you know? It's like, come on.
That is so sad. I was thinking about this the other day. Can we, like, go into a deep dive about how brand
Yes,
has become sterile?
yes.
Um, do you remember, like, okay, I'm just gonna give an example here, and then we can discuss where to go from it. And this is completely not bead related, so to those that are really wanting to tune into the show, I
Those are
apologize
your
in
beads.
advance. Um,
Sorry.
we all remember McDonald's, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I remember it very fondly as well. Like, it was very colorful, and they had some really wacky commercials that clearly were aimed to kids, and it had like people dressed up in costumes, and yeah, like Tony the Tiger, another case sample. But it was just really colorful. It was very 90s. It was very vivid. But like fast forward to today, where clearly kids aren't part of much of the commercial anymore. They're, advertising stuff for cafe or for adult related snacks or something. You know what I'm saying? And
Yes.
the style of the restaurant has become unfun over time. It's become like a corporate looking office that you eat from. And I think it kind of ruins the fun of like what the magic used to be of going in there.
There's a lot that's changed. Like, I
But
feel like
why?
I feel like they're not really trying to market to our kids anymore. They're marketing to us.
I know that, and that's really the shift and the change. And
Yeah.
I just got sad about that.
Like even in the toys, so in Lego and in the shows, it's all bringing back that nostalgia, right?
Hmm.
There's a Goonies Lego set,
Oh,
and
really?
yeah, and so I had to explain to my boys what Goonies was, and we watched it, and of course they loved it. And there's nothing new out right now that's original.
Well,
Are
no, because I honestly think that AI has ruined a lot of imagination and also technology because kids are not going outside and playing as much as they used to. It's like, and this is just based on my own opinion of observing my niece, but she's actually very crafty. It's just a lot of that decision has been made for her as far as like games and apps and stuff goes, and it's less about like self-discovery and creative freedom. So I started doing beadwork at a very early age. We're
we?
talking like whenever I was 12.
Oh,
And
seriously? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
but I didn't have
I didn't.
patterns and stuff, you know. I just kind of did whatever I wanted. But it was like that was the art of discovery for me. And not having stuff like told to me how to do something and trying to figure it out for myself. And I think that helped really propel my imagination at least. And then also just doing like pretend games.
Yeah, I think making up games is like we used to make our own board games. We would
Yeah,
get out cardboard and do all that stuff.
I know. So that was what I treasure. And thank you for listening to my PSA about all that nonsense really, but hey, that's just how I feel anymore.
I can't remember where it was. It was probably Target. I saw strawberry shortcake, and I'm
Oh
like,
yeah, I haven't seen that in a long time.
it's just they're bringing it back. They're just bringing it all back, and it's not for the kids. It's for me. It's like
Oh really? Like that it's not.
they know that like somebody like me will be standing there, see it, and buy it for their kid because they have like memories.
Well, that's
Sure.
kind of tricky, I think.
I think it's brilliant marketing, but it's also not original. And so
Um,
our whole generation of kids here, all they've got is 6, 7. Like they don't have anything like new and different.
nonsense, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Hang on, I'm just gonna go on mute for a second. I don't know if you guys can hear that printer.
yeah, Liz says kids are spending more time on computer devices. There's not a whole lot of socialization and outside play. So that was a lot of my childhood. My parents were like, "We're gonna take a nap. You guys need to leave the house," because we were rowdy, and so we would go play outside all the time for like hours. And in our yard, we had this one tree. It was a mimosa tree, and I would climb it constantly. That poor tree took a lot of abuse over time, but it was a happy tree, I think.
Oh, I loved climbing trees when I was a kid. I used to climb all kinds of stuff. Used to give my mom a little bit of a fright.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got up on okay, so I got in trouble once. They actually called the cops.
Oh my god.
Seriously. I was in 5th grade, and I noticed there's this, like, fire ladder up to the roof of the school, and I really wanted to see what was up there because it was one of those roofs that had, like, 2 sides on it, and I was just curious, like, I wanted to see stuff and explore, and so I got a friend of mine to go with me. We climbed up there. We got up to the top, and we were looking around, and then we see this cop car pull up, and it turns out that the principal had been in the office that day and had seen me. I still remember her name. I won't dox her, but like I she called the police. She could have just come and asked me to get down, but she had to call the police. And so they were
So
like,
cool.
"Well, now we got to call your parents." And
Yeah.
my mom worked as a nurse, and she was working like a 12-hour shift. So they called my dad. My dad pulls up in his T-top Camaro to pick my friend and I up, and we're supposed to get a strong scolding. My dad's like, "Oh, that's terrible." And then he's like, "Yeah, you girls want to go for ice cream?" I have like the best dad. You have no idea. Like he
It
was
sounds
so
like it. That's amazing.
because he's like, "What were you doing up there?" And I'm like, "I just wanted to see what was up there." And I'm like crying, you know. And he's like, "Yeah, let's go get some ice cream."
I'm like, okay, that's yeah. But I think calling the cops was definitely an overexaggeration. It sounded like she was just a terrible person.
She knew who we were. I mean, she could have just walked out there and said, "Get yourself down off there, Danielle." And I was just like, really. Like
Well,
the teachers nowadays, though, the teachers nowadays would not. The teachers nowadays would go and like talk about how creative that was that you got up there.
oh, really? I don't know where
Well,
the
so the kids nowadays, the teachers are so nice, and I'm like afraid of them because I got in trouble so much as a kid. I'm terrified. And we go to like all these parent-teacher conference meetings, and I just feel guilty before I even walk in. I have horror, and I walk in there, and my kids are like, "So my teacher, she's so cool, and they're so nice to me." And I'm like, "Don't you know who I am? I'm that kid from, you know." Such bad imposter syndrome, and it's just their generation is getting a completely different experience.
Mm-hmm.
Totally for it. They have high self-esteem, like all of them. They're just kind of, oh my god, I love this. Look at that.
That's perfect.
It needs one more little section, but
Ah, so cool. I love that we did freeform together.
me
And
too.
it's two very different results.
It is really cool. I'm glad I went bracelet, even though it's going to use a lot more, like stitching.
Looks like I've got a little bit of movement.
Oh, yours is so cute. Now make 2 of them, Neely.
Oh my gosh. I don't know if we got this. We're already a bit over.
I will finish this though, I promise. Even if I have to just show like a half done one.
Well, we could work on it next week.
That's true. I can show its progress.
We're not
We can finish
limited to...
And I can put little jump rings on it too with little charms. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be cute.
Yeah. You know what? We'll save it for next week. We still have like several more, right? Weeks of exploring the Out of This World bundle. So let's just keep it going.
Yeah. And I do have these beads in my shop still. So far, the only one I've sold out on is the mini duos.
Uh-huh.
But I put the mini duos in. I had some single colors. So basically, what happens is I ran out of the seafoam. So I added some of the purple and some of the AB Jet by themselves in little 10-gram bags. So if you want those. But the rest of the mixes I still have.
That's perfect. I was gonna find, here it is. No, wait, that's your YouTube. Okay, here it is. Joan is always on top of things, right? So she has prepared some pre-scripted things that I can drop into the chat. There. And I also have some of the Out of This World bundles left where you guys can grab the pipe chain. I mean, not pipe chain, I'm sorry.
The Pearlesque?
The Pearlesque chain. Yes, that's it.
But it does come with pipe chain. It comes with this awesome pipe chain.
And that can be also woven with the freeform bead. I don't think you'd be able to put your needle through it, but the knits on top, you can pass your needle through the wire of the knits.
That's a good point.
Yeah. SilverSilk is extremely versatile. I just have never worked with or I've never manufactured a product with such versatility. Just kidding. This is the only one that I manufacture. I have not manufactured any other products, but boy, am I glad that I do.
That is so cool. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm so glad you do too.
Well, why don't we bring it back around to us and collect our thoughts for today.
There you go. Sorry for the bright light, bright light.
Overhead lights. Well, wasn't that a lot of fun?
Yeah.
I
You
think we
taught me
both have.
Freeform Beading.
So cool. Yeah, I definitely think we should work on that next week as well. And I can get my second earring, in fact, worked out as well. So I'll have a full
It's
set.
kind of cool. I mean, it's
Yes.
cool, right? It's
Say
pretty
what?
cool. It's pretty cool even just
Oh
as
my
it is.
gosh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty for it.
I think it's beautiful. And the fact that it's stitched on top of the pearlesque chain, wow. Wow! Two very different looks with freeform. So hopefully we were comprehensive about. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
can see the
back.
entire back part of it too. Just cool.
Mhm.
But hopefully we've answered some of the questions you guys had around freeform or what it is and just a definition of well, what it is and how to do it. At least the way that we like to start. It's very exploratory. There is no right or wrong answer. It's just more ingrained with the technique and how to execute it and to have a starting point, which to me, Silver Silk is the answer to that. And clearly from what Danielle made and what I got to create for you guys, it's like it's a fun thing to dive into. So give it a try. You guys probably have the seed beads from Danielle already. If you don't, I just posted a link to the shop where you can get some extras. You can grab the pearlesque chain from silversilkandmore.com. And Danielle, is there anything else besides subscribing and liking this video just because we want visibility on YouTube, and you guys can help make that happen by subscribing to the channel as well as giving this video a thumbs up and leaving a comment.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah,
Thumbs up, likes, shares. We appreciate those all so
all
much.
the things.
Cool. Oh,
Um,
and next week, I need to coordinate with Kate, but I know next week was the week we were going to launch the pre-order
mhm.
next one for the next
Yeah,
box.
we have got our next bead box and bead bundle ready to go. I am finishing up the finalized graphics and stuff, but all of that will be dropped onto the SilverSilk and More website. You guys won't want to miss it. If you haven't already, definitely sign up for the text message notifications or the emails that are on SilverSilk online, silversilkandmore.com. The online thing is going to stick with me for a little while. I promise it'll go away. I am just 5 years into saying that, or actually 6.
Yeah,
And the switch just happened recently. But all to say, we've got our next set of boxes and bundles coming up for January. So you guys
exactly.
won't miss that. And we got some cool projects. Actually, that's what I was working on the last couple days is new projects
Yep.
for
Oh my gosh.
the Silver Silk bundle and for Danielle seed beads. So
Yeah.
and I know she's got some amazing projects coming up too.
Yeah, I got to see it, guys, before he went live. He's got a project already, two projects
Two
already
projects.
made with the beads for the next box. So, and so how is it going to work for you? Mentioned your shipping is going to be a little different on this one, or it's going to be not a pre-order, or do I have that wrong?
I think I'm not going to do a pre-order. I'm just going to have it as a regular order. But I'm going to launch it, I think, a few days after your box comes out. That way I can kind of, you guys were so generous with the 20% off findings coupon that I sent out via text and email. And so I'm trying to fill those orders now. So I just need a couple days to
Right.
get that done. And then I can kind of dive into the next project. So let me flush that out. Let me get those orders out to you guys timely because I haven't been very diligent, especially because we've been on holiday. Once I'm caught up with that in the next few days, you guys will get that notification that the next Silver Silk bundle is going to be available, and we'll be doing all of those projects in January as well.
Right.
But we're going to continue on right now through December, or as many
Yeah.
Silver Silk Sundays as we could squeeze in with the Out of This World bundle, so you guys won't miss a thing.
Perfect. Yeah. So it sounds like getting your bundle might be a way to get a sneak preview on the box too, right? A
It
bonus.
is. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna put a sticker on it saying, "Don't open it now," but
You don't get it live until yeah. But you can get a little sneak preview because I think Kate is planning to ship the box starting on January 9th.
oh, wow, okay, yeah.
So there'll be some time if they get yours early, they can get a peek.
They'll definitely get mine earlier than
Yeah,
January 9th or even during that time, but yeah, it'll be fabulous. So,
perfect.
and there'll already be a project that just uses beads from my bundle, and
Oh,
as
yeah.
there's gonna be one just to start off right off the bat with
A
my
nice
bundle.
warm up. That's
It's a
perfect.
warm up. Yeah. And then we dive into once people start getting your box, I've already got projects set out with the seed beads from your bundle and with chain from SilverSilk. So we got this so
Covered.
coordinated this time that
This is like the most planning I've ever done for anything. It's
this
so
is the most
perfect.
fun I've ever done too. I was just like, we got this under
Also,
control.
best graphics ever.
All right. Well, you guys enjoy the rest of the weekend. Stay warm if you're in a cold place. We love you so much and appreciate your support. Catch Danielle, hopefully not 7 times in the same week.
Yeah, I know next week I'm not until Saturday. Oh no, wait, I lied again.
Eat
I'm
Saturday.
on Wednesday with Sarah Ayler for Softflex.
Ooh, okay. Wednesday it is.
Wednesday,
So
1 p.m. Pacific.
there you go. I was just gonna ask the time. So catch Danielle Wednesday
That's
at 1
it. That's it. Yeah.
and then see Pete Saturday.
And then Seaweed Saturday. Yeah.
And then SilverSilk Sunday. And that's kind of cap off the week, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. Cruising into December.
We are. All righty, guys. Take care. We'll see you next time. Enjoy. Stay creative. And we can't wait to see what you do with the bundle. Bye.